In a world where climate change is an ever-present reality, the devastating effects of extreme weather events are becoming all too familiar. This is the story of one such event that forever changed the lives of a community and the role that climate change played in it. John Stewart is the director of the Living School in Lismore, an alternate education academy dedicated to fostering sustainable living practices and alternative learning. However, his vision was interrupted when the devastating floods wreaked havoc on the school, leaving it in ruins.
The initial reaction was disbelief. When we talk about floods, are we talking about the actual event, the lead up to the event, or the aftermath? Because the flood has so many elements to it. But all I remember is sitting there, I was doing a strategic paper review for the school moving forward. We just had a strategic planning weekend with the board. And I'm sitting there writing an email about some great ideas we're about to initiate. And my wife just said, it's going to flood. So when that happened, we came up and we called in the school, the teachers as well. So everybody went down to our Conway Street site and started lifting and raising everything up. There was still a lot of views that it wasn't going to be a big flood. So even a councillor, Big Rob on the council, said that it wasn't going to be a big flood. It wouldn't even breach the levee bank. So all the teachers moved everything right up out of to the heights that we thought would be way above the expectations. And then on the Sunday evening, the floodwaters kept on going higher and higher and higher. And in 1 hour, it went from not breaching the levee to being the biggest flood in history.
David Elliott had just bought his first house just months before the disaster. The second floor of David's house was damaged by the floodwater and entered it by a few metres, making it uninhabitable until it was fixed, which took over a year.
Yeah, I just remember it being late or mid-February and just looking outside and just seeing all of the really heavy rain just not stopping for a week and more than that. It's just been raining for ages and everything's already wet. And the water was rising pretty heavily. I could see in my neighbour's backyard the water was already pretty much pooling in their backyard. And then my dad ended up coming over. And he was just moving his cars around and he suggested that maybe I'd want to start packing. When I left, I went up to my grandma's place up in Richmond Hill and I stayed there for a few weeks until the water came back down. And then when I got back to my house, the water had gone pretty much all through the top floor of my house, the top floor and halfway up the windows. So yeah, and all my collectibles had been destroyed and everything had to be basically gutted. Everything was messed around. My TV cabinet was on top of my TV. My dining room table had shifted to the other side of the house. Everything gone except for the clothes and stuff that I took with me.
Tom Wolff is a co-founder of Revive the Northern Rivers, an organisation that raises money and awareness in support of the natural beauty of the Lismore region. His efforts have resulted in significant funds being raised and a strong network of individuals and organisations dedicated to preserving the environment.
Climate change is affecting a lot of different things and I don't think we fully understand exactly what yet because it's kind of happening as we go. But I definitely think it's going to contribute to the frequency of floods in the future, or just events generally speaking. I think it'll flood again, yeah. I don't know how soon, but I definitely think it'll flood. And historically it's flooded too, obviously, so I think if people do want to live in Lismore, like in the flood zone, they probably need to build their house a little differently. And then if they don't want to live in the flood zone, then obviously, as you probably know, the buybacks are sort of happening at the moment. So that's, I guess, the other option is to move people. But I think there'll be people that want to stay.
Yeah, it's interesting because damage, again, has so many elements to it, but physical damage of the building we didn't get in till Wednesday. So when a flood comes through Lismore, you do know a flood's coming. It's not like it's going to be a flash flood. So we were well aware and we were well planned, but we just weren't given that information, so that it was going to be as high as it was, which was 2.5 metres nearly higher than the previous highest flood in recorded history. So on the Wednesday, I just remember going into town. The town was, now you could get access to it, walking into the building and just seeing the physical catastrophe. Everything that the school owned was destroyed.
Whenever it starts to rain, you see this around Lismore. People sort of get into a sort of panic. For me, I guess there is no panic. I guess it's just if you panic, then you don't have a plan, I guess. And so from the last flood, I've got a flood plan, a flood escape plan, and what to do. And I think I'm more aware now because it's my first time living in Lismore, where it floods. And so I feel like now I'm just a bit more aware or alert of that sort of stuff. And I feel like if it does start to rain that heavy again, I can look at a sign.
I think we know what the problems are. I think a lot of the time with the government, it's kind of like they always want to find out more information or do another study or do more research. And I think a lot of the time it's like we know what the problems are and we know what we need to do to fix them. So we just need to do that.
The floods that swept through Lismore serve as a dark reminder of the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events in our world today. We have witnessed the heartbreaking stories of individuals like John Stewart and David Elliott, who illustrate the devastating impact of these events on people's lives. And we have been inspired by the unwavering dedication of Tom Wolff and Revive the Northern Rivers as they tirelessly work to preserve the natural beauty of the region. But amidst the devastation, we have also witnessed the resilience and strength of the human spirit. The community of Lismore has come together, supporting one another in the lengthy process of recovering and rebuilding. Their stories serve as a testament to the power of unity and determination in the face of adversity. Yet, as we conclude this documentary, we must confront the global implications of climate change. Lismore is not an isolated incident, but rather a microcosm of a much larger problem. Our world is at a crossroads, and the choices we make today will shape the future for generations to come. It is up to each and every one of us to take action. We must raise awareness, educate ourselves and others, and prepare for the inevitable challenges that lie ahead. We need to support organisations like Revive the Northern Rivers, who tirelessly work to protect our environment and advocate for change. In the end, the fate of our planet rests in our hands. Will we continue down the path of destruction, or will we rise to the occasion and forge a sustainable future? The choice is ours to make.